What if the most dangerous meeting of the 20th century didn't happen in a palace, but in a quiet Swiss village? What if a few exiled idealists, hunted by every government in Europe, secretly redrew the map of revolution, while the world burned in war? This is not a story of kings and generals. It's the story of outlaws with notebooks, of men and women who dared to whisper about peace, while the rest of the world screamed for victory. Welcome to Hidden in History, where shadows still speak. If you want to uncover the untold stories that shaped our world, hit subscribe and stay with us to the end of this film, because what happened in the little village of Zimmerwald would shake the world to its core. It's 1915. Europe is bleeding. For over a year, the First World War has devoured entire generations. From Flanders to Galicia, millions lie in the mud, all in the name of empire and glory. But in the cafes of exile, in Paris, Zurich, Geneva, something else is happening. Letters cross borders hidden inside loaves of bread. Secret codes slip between the lines of newspapers. A few stubborn socialists, once comrades across nations, are searching for a way to speak to each other again. Before the war, they had believed in solidarity without borders. Workers of the world, united. But when the guns fired in 1914, those ideals collapsed overnight. German socialists voted for war credits. French socialists rallied to defend the nation. The great Second International, the global alliance of socialist parties, was dead. And yet a handful refused to surrender. Among them, Robert Grimm, a Swiss parliamentarian with a dangerous idea. What if, despite the war, socialists from every country could meet again, not to defend governments, but to defend humanity? He sent the invitations under false names. Delegates would travel under the cover of academic conferences, medical congresses, or simply vacations. Their destination, a peaceful village near Bern, Zimmerwald. 40 men and women stepped off those trains in early September 1915. Russians, Germans, Italians, Poles, Swedes, Swiss. Enemies on the battlefield, comrades in exile. They met in a small guest house, the Beau Séjour Inn, surrounded by cows and fog. Outside, Switzerland was neutral. Inside, it was revolutionary. The meeting lasted 4 days. No flags, no uniforms, no press. Only tension and hope. At one end of the table sat Vladimir Lenin, taking notes in his thin, angular handwriting. Next to him, Leon Trotsky, already the sharp-tongued journalist with eyes that saw too far. Across the room, the old social democrats, men like Robert Grimm and Angelika Balabanoff, pleaded for unity, for peace. The debates were fierce. Should they call for peace between nations, or war against capitalism itself? Lenin's voice cut through the smoke. The working class must not beg for peace. It must seize it, turn the imperialist war into a civil war. Some recoiled, others nodded. The room vibrated with arguments, whispered, shouted, translated into half a dozen languages. On the last night, they compromised. They drafted a manifesto, the Zimmerwald Manifesto, written largely by Trotsky. It declared the war a crime of imperialism, a slaughter for profit. It called for peace without annexations or indemnities, and for the workers of all countries to rise again in solidarity. It was smuggled across borders, printed secretly, hidden in bread baskets and coat linings, in factories, in trenches, in prisons. Workers whispered, "Zimmerwald, Zimmerwald." It became a code word for hope, for rebellion, for a new beginning. Governments panicked. The German press called it a traitor's conspiracy. French intelligence hunted down anyone carrying the manifesto. Even some socialists denounced it. Too radical, too dangerous. But the seed had been planted. Within 2 years, the war that was supposed to end all wars would tear empires apart. In 1917, in Petrograd, the Zimmerwald veterans would rise again. Lenin returned to Russia, carrying not only his old notebooks but the ideas born in that Swiss village. Trotsky followed. Their revolution would topple the Tsar and later ignite a worldwide wave of uprisings. In Germany, Hungary, China, Cuba. Everywhere they went, the spirit of Zimmerwald, the dream of workers standing above nations, flickered alive again. Yet the Zimmerwald Conference was not just a spark of revolution. It was also a mirror of humanity's contradictions. Those few delegates wanted to stop the war, but they also unleashed new conflicts, new revolutions, new wars of ideology. Their dream of international unity turned, in time, into the fractured world of communism versus capitalism. But in 1915, they didn't know any of that. They only knew that silence was impossible. Listen to what one of them, Angelika Balabanoff, later wrote. "We were only 38, but we represented the conscience of humanity." Imagine them, hidden away in that Swiss hotel, surrounded by fog and cows, whispering about the future while Europe drowned in blood. No armies, no guns, just words. Words that terrified empires. The Zimmerwald Manifesto did not end the war. It didn't stop the killing, but it revived something that had almost vanished. The belief that ordinary people could speak against the madness of their governments. And from that belief, the shape of the 20th century would emerge. Revolutions, new ideologies, new divisions. Every radical manifesto, every student protest, every uprising that spoke in the language of solidarity owed something, however faint, to Zimmerwald. Today, the Beau Séjour Inn still stands. Tourists drive by, never knowing what once happened behind those shuttered windows. But if you stand in the meadow at night, when the fog curls low, you can almost hear them. Voices carried by the wind. Arguing, dreaming, defying the world. The war swallowed millions. But in that little Swiss village, a handful of exiled socialists found a way to speak. And in doing so, they reshaped history itself. You've been watching Hidden in History, where shadows still speak. If you want to uncover more forgotten stories that changed the world, subscribe, share, and stay curious. Because the past still has secrets to tell.